Hi there, this is Miss Caitlin from Fibo Kids Art Academy, and I'm here to tell you about our Around the World series. In our Around the World series, we visit the 7 continents of the world, learn about their different countries and famous landmarks. Now, today I'm just here to give you a little bit of a taste of how these projects usually work, and for today, we are going to be visiting the country of Guatemala. This is a country in North America, more specifically the region of Central America. Now, for this project, I'm just going to show you a really quick way to sort of do it. I'll talk you through some of the different steps. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we're going to need. All right, so here is a view of my table. Here is our project today. We are visiting the ancient Mayan city of Tikal. Now, for this project, you're going to need a piece of really thick paper, maybe watercolor paper or something of the like. You're obviously going to need watercolors. You could even use acrylic paint in this project to do some of the shading and highlights, or even add a little bit of shading to the trees into the background. And you're going to need a pencil and eraser so that you can draw everything and feel confident with your lines. You're going to need some kind of permanent red marker. I'm just going to be using a Mr. Sketch marker today, but again, I would recommend a permanent marker of some kind, glue and scissors. So let's go ahead and begin. Now, what we're going to start with is our watercolor paper, or our thick piece of paper, and we're going to do just a light wash of yellow for the sky. I'm going to go ahead and move all this other stuff out of the way, and for this, I would recommend using a very large brush. So I'm getting my brush really wet off screen here, wiping off the extra, picking up yellow. Make sure that your paper is turned vertical up and down. And all you're going to do is in the top half of the paper, you're going to add in a pretty sizable layer of yellow. Now during these projects, we'll usually do a practice draw or even just start with a final draw. But for this one today, I've made it very simple so that you can complete this lickety-split. Now what's so special about this city of Tikal in Guatemala? Well, this city is the ruins, one of many ancient Mayan civilizations. It's actually one of the largest urban centers of what we call pre-Columbian Mayan civilization. All right, so for this layer of yellow, once you start getting about halfway towards the end of your paper here, I want you to start kind of fading that out. So what I mean by that is maybe you take your yellow watercolor and you kind of just keep doing brush strokes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth until you kind of run out on your brush. So it looks like it's fading from yellow into just white paper. Now that's doing its thing. You want to let that dry for just a little bit, and then we're going to add in just a very simple tree off to the side. So much of Guatemala is actually covered in rainforests and jungle, which means there's lots of trees, lots of greenery. We want to show that in our picture today because the entire urban area of these ruins is kind of covered in jungle. Of course, not as much today because of conservation efforts as well as it's a protected site, but it's still very much surrounded by jungle. So get your brush nice and wet, pick up green. You can use any green for this part. I recommend maybe starting with like a regular green. And then instead of just painting it in, we're going to kind of tap our brush a bunch around this area. You could do this in acrylic paint and have it turn out just as well. Remember, when using acrylic paint, you don't want to wet your brush. You want to use a dry brush. Now because I'm doing this in watercolor, some of the color is going to blend away a little bit. That's fine, I'm not worried about it. It's just going to add to the effect of this looking like leaves. You can see I'm going pretty fast, but you can take your time when it comes to doing this part. And you don't want to do just a big glob of green either. You kind of want to spread it out because in real life, trees, they kind of have those openings, right? Like branches are sticking out in certain places. It's not perfect. And what I would encourage you to do is concentrate a lot of this regular green kind of towards the bottom, because a lot of the tree up here is actually getting covered in sunlight, but a lot of this is going to be in shadow. Okay. All right, now I'm going to just clean off my brush of that color. I'm going to pick up now a little bit of this regular green, or excuse me, this yellow green here, and tap that in just in some spots. This different green will kind of help give a contrast to this blob we have going on here. It'll also help it look a little bit more like a tree. And then I'm going to take blue, an analogous darker color from green. So it's similar, as in it's close to green on the color wheel, it's right next to it, and use this kind of as a shadow. So I don't want to take too much, kind of putting it in areas where I think not a lot of sunlight is hitting the leaves on the tree, and I'm kind of tapping it in to help with that illusion of us creating leaves. Of course, if you add too much in an area, just take a paper towel and gently tap away some of what you've got. So you could crumple it up, for instance, to get some texture in there. You can tap away some parts. You might tap away some of this down here. This part you're not going to see as much because it's going to be covered by the temple, but still be mindful. Now, if you really want to get into some dark contrast, be very careful with this part. With a little bit of water on your brush, you can pick up just a smidgen of black paint. Oops, need a little more. In some areas, you can just add in little spots. You can see here in our example, kind of did the same thing. So you can just be very careful adding it in. I would try to concentrate most of this towards the bottom because again, that's where most of the shadow is going to be. If you add too much, clean off your brush, just use plain water. You can kind of push the paint around a little bit. All right, I'll add just a couple of little strokes up here, help separate out some of those leaves. Again, we're just kind of going for a texture. We're not going for super duper precise right now. Again, just wiping off my brush, going in with plain water into some of these areas. And then you can fiddle with that until you're happy with how it looks. Now we're gonna let that dry completely. And as we're working on that drawing, we can start on the shape for the temple. Now we're gonna cut this out from another piece of paper. Now I already have it prepared. I'm not sure if you can see that, but very lightly I already have that temple prepared for our kind of silhouette look. If you wanna learn how to do those silhouettes, again, I encourage you to sign up onto our online classes at FiboKidsArtAcademy.com. Now go ahead and look at different pictures of this large temple that's in the ruins of Tikal, and you'll see it kind of has this rounded top, and it's like this step pyramid. So there's like this top part here, and then you have steps that go all the way down, kind of like stairs. Once you have that kind of outline drawn, you don't need to draw the whole thing on the inside. You can if you want to, though. We can just cut that shape out. Now it's a pretty big piece of paper, and this color that I've chosen is pretty similar to the stone of the ruins. The ruins are actually made mostly out of limestone, and they, for being ruins and being ancient, like it's believed that these ruins were probably, or not ruins, excuse me, the city or this urban area was probably constructed somewhere between or at least at most powerful between 200 and 900 AD. So very, very long time ago, thousands of years ago. Constructed, a little harder to pin down, of course, because it's so old. But people were definitely living here during that time. All right, so now I'm just making sure that I've got it a good size. I like that. All right, if you have any other pieces of scrap paper, be sure to recycle anything you don't want. And what we're gonna do, of course, wait until this is completely dry, but for the sake of the video, I'm gonna glue it down now so that you can see. You wanna glue it so that this corner matches the corner of that watercolor paper. So let's go ahead and get some glue on the back of there. You can see paper not all the way dry. That's okay. For you, make sure it dries. Okay. I have to use quite a bit of glue to get this down. All right. There we go. It's all purple on the back now. Just gonna flip that over, line it up as best as I can. gonna scoot that over slightly and paste down. Now you might have to hold these different parts down just so that it really sticks. Any glue or any sort of, adhesive you have will work great for this. So just keep on pressing down. Now for these ruins, what caused them to become ruins? Why did the people leave if it was so powerful and so popular, or just a place where a lot of people would go? Well, again, it happened a very long time ago, so it's kind of hard to say, but people think for many reasons. One, because there were so many people living here, it's thought that maybe they overused the land, and so they couldn't use the soil anymore and they had to move somewhere else. It's thought maybe there was like a lot of disease and illness that came over much later in life. And also it could have just been people left. Maybe the city and the surrounding land just wasn't effective anymore, or maybe there's just a general loss of power. Hard to say. Now for the temple, you can have a lot of fun deciding how you want to color the inside. On our example, I'm not going to show you how to do this today, but on our example, I used acrylic paint very lightly. Like I actually put water on my brush for this, and usually you're not supposed to do that, but for the effect that we want here, you can do that. I took yellow and white paint and I kind of just, lightly sketched in with my brush just some of the highlights that you would see on the temple. I encourage you again to kind of draw from observation, look at actual pictures of this temple. You can look it up online and sort of draw them in. Now with your red permanent marker, you can go and write in the country down at the bottom, as well as, where it's located. Tikal is located in Tikal National Park, pretty easy to remember. And you can write the location really big at the top. If you want to write the country really big, you can do that instead. And maybe you just write Tikal down at the bottom and include any other information that you happen to find out about it. So that just about does it for this very quick example project today. I hope you had a lot of fun creating it. Of course, make sure to clear your space. There is a lot of watercolor and painting that you can do in this project, so make sure you clean everything off. Now, if you are interested in doing more around the world projects and learning more about the different countries of North America and learn how to do these projects more in depth with more steps, I encourage you to sign up on our Fibo Kids Art Academy website. That's FiboKidsArtAcademy.com, and join in our Around the World series. I hope to see you in class, and I will also see you again very soon. Bye for now.